I'm here joined by Boaz Keizire, who is our head of policy and advocacy, and I just want to pick his brain on a few questions.
There were a number of areas that we looked at to guide the design of the new strategy. And those 5 areas were picked from the experience of the last 10 years of Agra itself. The first one was largely the fact that a lot of good investments were happening, but we were scattered. We had investments in the seed system or in the seed sector in some countries, in particular geographies, targeting different communities. And at the same time, we had fertilizer or soil health investments in the same country, but in a different geography, or even in a different country, and or policy interventions in a particular country. So what we learned from that was that there was a lack of integration. We did not have integrated approaches focusing on a particular farmer with all particular solutions. So the lesson was we needed to integrate our interventions. The second lesson that informed our strategy was that while the green revolution in Africa has been taking shape since the initial investments, the lessons we learned from the Asian Green Revolution, which were largely driven by fertilizer and seed, what was not documented enough was the centrality of governments in driving change. And yet, in Asia, governments, in terms of state capacity as well as policy, were so central in shaping the way technologies were being adopted. So we designed the strategy to make sure that we bring governments and policy at the center and heart of our strategy. The third lesson that we learned was that money or funds or resources were not always the problem. It's how we mobilize the resources across the board, those within governments themselves as well as those that different partners, development as well as multilateral development agencies, as well as NGO resources, were all scattered in countries. So we needed some little resources from Agra to catalyze all these other resources. The fourth lesson that we learned in the initial years of Agra's investment was we had a lot of technologies developed out there, but our market systems as well as other input systems needed to be driven by the existing technologies, that we need to scale up the existing technologies to be able to facilitate farm adoption in a faster way. The last lesson was that Agra's resources will not be enough, that Agra is not going to do this work alone. And I think that was the premise for the word alliance, that we will mobilize resources, work with other partners, both public and private, to be able to drive the change that we are looking for. So those were the 5 key elements that guided the current strategy that we're implementing.
And you've just mentioned that Agra came together after learning all these lessons from the Asian Revolution, that it became an alliance builder. And how has this worked to Agra's advantage?
This has been the central piece of our work, because in many cases, people have been looking at Agra for resources without really knowing the key central piece that brings Agra together. It's the partnership that we build, the experts, the knowledge, the experience that exists elsewhere with other institutions, but in a way that we mobilize and bring those alliances together to be able to respond to a particular program, a particular challenge, a particular issue in a particular geography, in a country. And when we talk about partners, we really mean a wide range of partners. We talk about public sector institutions as partners, governments themselves as the center of the partnership. We also talk about the private sector. Huge amounts of resources out there that are not being aligned, that are not being used to drive the kind of investment that we're talking about, but also the farmers themselves as part of the alliance. So a combination of all these actors brings the whole package together. So as an organization, we are now boasting of being a go-to partner for kind of catalyzing investments, alliance builders. So we really be proud of what we're doing today.